Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Gut Health, where every week we discuss openly your health challenges about digestion, stress, or anything that ails you.
Each week, we explore the connection between your stress, nutrition, energy, metabolism, and your emotional resilience as it relates to your gut health in a way that's practical, information that you can actually digest.
I'm Dr. Phil. This week, we'd like to explore brain fog, thinking clearly, and why is it so hard to think clearly?
Exactly. Why is it so hard for us to think clearly? There's so many reasons for this, but what is one of the main reasons, would you say, is behind this?
That's a really good question. Thinking about it today, and when we get older, we're forgetting where we put things. We forget where we put the car keys, or we forget where we parked, or worried about developing Alzheimer's dementia. Is it that I'm getting older and I'm getting more forgetful? Is something wrong with me? These are things that go through my head. And the question is, what can I do about it?
The biggest thing to address is what can you do about it? One of the things that I think of when I think of brain fog is inflammation in the body. That's one of the biggest drivers I'm seeing with brain fog. Because if you have inflammation throughout your body, which is caused by a multitude of things, then it's going to be harder to think clearly. If you're eating, for example, a lot of ultra processed foods with a lot of preservatives, chemicals, refined sugars, and carbs, and seed oils that are unhealthy, those can contribute to systemic inflammation. And of course, you got the gut brain connection. So everything you're putting in your gut's going to go to your brain. You start getting a leaky gut, start getting a leaky brain, and there you have it. You have the brain fog. It feels like your head is in the clouds. You're look for the right words to say. I remember not even recognizing this as a symptom in my own health journey because I thought, oh, it's just who I am. When I couldn't come up with the right word, I always thought it was just because of me. And then I found out well, there's so many reasons for this.
I think that we need to really break it down to our listening audience because some people don't really understand what inflammation's all about. You raised
Okay,
so many wonderful points about inflammation and how we get the inflammation and what's causing it, but inflammation is not all bad. We have to look in terms of inflammation is good when you get a cut or a scrape, or if you get exposed to some type of infection, our body naturally responds to create an inflammatory response, and that helps our body to get rid of whatever's going on. So, inflammation in the short term is actually good. There are good things that we call good stress or good inflammation, and these things are if you're getting exposed to something outside, like a virus or some type of infection, or if you do something like exercise, that actually creates inflammation, and that's healthy. If you are going in cold water or if you're going in a sauna, these are good stress or good inflammation. Now, when it becomes a problem is when you have a chronic inflammatory problem or a chronic inflammatory reaction. And that means the things that Terry talked about, that can create fatigue, belly fat, and leaky gut, where there are holes that are created in our gut lining and things slip through the cracks and they affect the brain and get leaky brain. These things are important to at least pay attention to. And when we have chronic inflammation, this affects our immune system and our ability to fight infection. And that's certainly not a good thing either. I believe that when we don't sleep well and we have issues where we are stressed and not managing our stress well, when we eat the things that we talked about, these things are a cumulative effect, and hormones such as cortisol can create inflammation. So we want to make sure that the cortisol levels that we have in our body are not too high and they are regulated. and we need to create more balance. So inflammation's not all bad, but over time it can create some major issues. Take it away, Terry.
Yeah, I love what you said and remind our audience about the importance and the role of inflammation in the body. I like to describe it as acute inflammation or chronic inflammation. And the acute one is like you mentioned, maybe you get a cut, for example, on your finger and it swells up, it gets red, and inflammation is at the source trying to heal that cut. Chronic inflammation is when that cut keeps happening over and over in your body and it's just chronically inflamed. For example, if we're eating a diet that's really poor, drinking a lot of alcohol, being around toxins, maybe mold, not sleeping well, all those are cuts to your body. So every cut becomes inflammatory response, inflammatory response, inflammatory response. So if you're having issues around those things, for example, you're gonna have chronic inflammation and you may not even realize that you do. Some of the signs that you do would be a lot of bloating, a lot of gas, of course, the brain fog. But there's a lot of things to think about when you're thinking about inflammation. When you become super aware of the sources of inflammation, you want to try to bring those down, all those things that we talked about. Help support the body so it doesn't have to be in this chronic state of trying to heal itself. I think that's why sleep, restoration, and stress management practices are so vital in this time where people are trying to burn the midnight oil, fill their calendar with so many activities during the day that they can't even keep up. They go to bed exhausted and are not getting a good night's sleep. And then that contributes to inflammation throughout the body and in the brain. Of course, you're going to have brain fog then. So it's a matter of being intentional about what we're doing.
Right. You made a lot of great points. We're talking about brain fog and thinking clearly. Certainly, when we age, there are things that we may forget as part of the aging process, but there are definitely things that we can do. We talked about the food that we eat. There are certain brain foods, such as olives, avocados, and eggs, if you can tolerate them, salmon, certain supplements like turmeric or ginkgo biloba, things that can increase our cognition, such as cognizin, or there are things that can help us. Not everybody has to take these things, but these are supplements that can help to increase our focus. Now, you may or may not need them, and it may be something that you may take on a as needed basis. Food, certain supplementations, and reducing inflammation can certainly help. Prioritizing sleep, look at when you wake up to get out and get in the sun within an hour waking up and minimizing the lights from your LED lights in the evening so that you get a better sleep and your melatonin levels can rise and you are not looking at screens several hours before you go to bed. Circadian rhythm is important. Exercise is certainly something that can help to increase brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is something that helps stimulate brain growth and increases brain cells. All these things can help us think more clearly and reduce brain fog. Terry mentions about reducing toxins, so we need to look at our personal care products. We need to look at the ingredients in the foods that we eat. All these things are going to help improve our brain health. What are your thoughts, Terry?
Well, you certainly covered a lot of great nuggets in there, Dr. Phil. As I was thinking about it more, I like to talk about the four pillars of gut health. Through that lens, I think it makes sense to focus on nourishment, nourishing the body with quality, nutrient-dense foods. So you're thinking your nuts, your seeds, maybe your meats, your eggs, your vegetables, and your fruits. Minimize grains. As we know, a lot of people have a sensitivity to gluten, dairy, and even eggs and nuts. You got to be really mindful of how food is affecting you. That's really hard if you are eating a variety of food. So sometimes even having an elimination type of diet can be helpful to find out what foods actually do cause you to bloat. I was noticing recently that I was having some bloating, and I thought, what's different? Well, I've been going to the farmers markets, but sometimes those foods are not always organic, right? I was thinking, I'm reconsidering my choices because I noticed the digestion has slowed down some. And I'm like, maybe something there I'm putting into my gut is not helping me. It's being really mindful. The other thing you think about is nourishing with hydration. That's one of the key factors. Hydration can lead to brain fog. If you are starting to get a headache during the day, I tell people drink a couple glasses of water and really see if you're hungry before you go for food because a lot of times we mistake thirst for a hunger craving. We want to make sure we're giving our body good hydration through not just water, but electrolytes are so essential for our neurons to function properly. So, adding electrolytes and mineral sea salt so that the hydration can actually get into your cells to hydrate your whole body. And targeted supplements, we know vitamin D3 and K2 work together to help with immunity. That's our sunlight hormone. And if you're not getting enough sun, which most of us who live north of the equator are not even able to do, we need to really focus in on those targeted supplements. Like magnesium, such an essential mineral for over 300 different coenzymatic processes in the body. Fish oil can be anti-inflammatory and so good to support your brain health, but you got to be aware some people could have sensitivities to fish. So that's again where you got to test it out. Do I feel better taking the supplement or not? If you do get a supplement of fish oil, you got to be so careful making sure it's third party tested because a lot of those fish oils can contain contaminants too. We just always need to be mindful of every choice we're making, not only to put in our body, but like you mentioned, even putting on top of our body. I remember hearing women will tend to put 12 different products on their body every single day. So, how can you minimize that? One thing that I do, for example, is I buy olive oil soap. It just has a couple ingredients in there and it doesn't smell real good, but that's okay with me. At least I'm getting my body clean with something that's actually good for me. The skin people don't realize is your biggest organ in your whole body and absorbs everything. Anything you're putting on your skin and your head to your toes is going to be directly put into your bloodstream right away. We need to be mindful of that. When you're putting your hands in the dish soap, what is your dish soap made out of? Taking a look at that. Everything. What are you using for medications? Medications are inflammatory as well. What can you maybe take with a medication to protect that gut lining so that we don't get those tears in the gut so badly? That's just on the nourishment side. If you would like to hop in here and talk more about anything, please feel free.
Wow, so many pearls in what you're saying, Terry. I think that we should at least let our audience know one thing that they can take home about our brain to help us think more clearly. For me, I feel that if we're going to do one thing, because obviously we've talked about this before, but we stay up later because there's more sunlight. So I think the one thing that we can do is to avoid late night eating because that can affect our sleep and how we feel the next day. I would say not to eat late and to not have as much ultra processed food and sugar would be some things that I would recommend to our audience. What's one thing that you would recommend to people so that they can improve their brain health and lower brain fog?
The biggest one I would say is getting rid of all refined carbs and sugars because when we eat those things, it has such a extreme effect on our blood sugar stability. So if you're trying to reduce brain fog, that would be the biggest thing. In fact, they're saying that eliminating refined sugars and carbs for people who have attention deficit issues can avoid a lot of times taking medication. Something like 50% of the people can
Mhm.
avoid taking medication by just focusing on eating real, clean, whole food. If that can help somebody with ADHD and you don't even have that, you can imagine how it can help you. Also, when we think about people with cognitive decline and Alzheimer's disease, we call that type 3 diabetes. It's again that connection between our metabolic health and how we feel inside our head, as well as our gut. Everything that you put in the gut is going to affect your head. So we need to be mindful of that. So the biggest thing I say, stop eating refined sugars and carbs because they're just toxic for the body. If you want to have some sugar, find natural sources of sugar. Dates can be really sweet, figs can be really sweet. Then being mindful how you eat those. So if you do eat something sweet like that, you plan to do some exercise within 10 minutes so that the sugar gets out of the blood and gets into the muscles where it can be absorbed and metabolized.
Great points. I think sugar is definitely something that we need to be aware of with respect to cortisol balance, inflammation, and brain health. And you talked about the brain-gut connection, which is something that Terry and I are both very passionate about, and how whatever is going on with your gut is going to be affecting your brain. Exercise is certainly beneficial as well, and prioritizing sleep. All these things, it's not just one thing. It's an idea of starting somewhere, making it a point to do something every day for your health. If it's avoiding late night eating, if it's avoiding sugar, there are times when you will have sugar, but make sure that it's not too late at night. And the same thing with alcohol. Timing is important. When you eat the sugar, if you're going to have sugar, try to make it at the end of the meal, and avoiding the processed sugars and the ultra processed foods are definitely going to make a step in the right direction. Sometimes we do eat something. It's not the end of the world. We have to understand what it can do and to minimize these things so we can take a step toward better health. I think that it's been wonderful to be here today. And certainly, we invite you to join us each week. We invite you to bring your questions related to brain or gut health. We encourage you to be a part of the show and we encourage you to share it. You can reach me at livefunctionally.com, or my email is phil@livefunctionally. Terry has a way to get in touch with her. We both have many programs, different types for different people. But right now, we just want to be connected with you. Terry, why don't you take us away for the finale?
Absolutely. What makes our show special is that Dr. Phil and I have come out on the other side of having gut brain health issues. We bring not only our knowledge with you, but our personal lived experience with you and share that. But what makes the show extra special is always having people here to join us for the conversation to dig a little deeper into some of their health issues. If you don't feel comfortable coming to the show, please feel free to reach out to either of us. I can be reached at terrytotalhealth.com. You can also find me on YouTube, Terry Total Health, on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Happy to connect with you. We would love to have your participation and help you get down to the root cause of some of your symptoms. Happy to have you join us next time.
See you next week.
Here, bye for now.